President Barack Obama, who was criticized for his performance in the first presidential debate 2 weeks ago, came out strongly against Republican candidate Governor Mitt Romney today in the second presidential debate at the Hofstra University in New York, which focused on domestic and foreign policy. News First Mahina Bongso and Ramesh Irugal Bandara, who were at the Hofstra University, filed this report on the second presidential debate.
1,000 people filed this venue, the David Mack Stadium in Hofstra University in New York, to witness President Barack Obama and Governor Mitt Romney go head-to-head in the second presidential debate. Now, this debate was held in a town hall style format, which meant that 82 undecided voters were given the opportunity to ask questions from the two presidential candidates. The debate was moderated by CNN's Candy Crowley, who was the first woman to moderate a debate in 20 years. Now, both candidates had some very heated moments during the debate, especially regarding the energy policy and also regarding the creation of jobs. And also another moment that really heated up during the debate was the foreign policy, and especially the consulate attack in Benghazi, Libya. Here's a few excerpts from the debate that took place right here.
The president's policies throughout the Middle East began with an apology tour and pursue a strategy of leading from behind, and this strategy is unraveling before our very eyes.
Governor Romney had a very different response. While we were still dealing with our diplomats being threatened, Governor Romney put out a press release trying to make political points. And that's not how a commander-in-chief operates. You don't turn national security into a political issue. Certainly not right when it's happening.
You cut permits and licenses on federal land and federal waters in half.
Not true, Governor Romney.
So how much did you cut them by?
Not true.
By how much did you cut them by then?
Governor, we have actually produced more oil.
No. How much did you cut licenses and permits on federal land and federal waters?
Governor Romney, here's what we did. There were a whole bunch of oil companies.
I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer
How much did you cut them by?
I'm happy to answer the question. What he says is he's going to make sure that this doesn't add to the deficit, and he's going to cut middle-class taxes. But when he's asked, how are you going to do it, which deductions, which loopholes are you going to close, he can't tell you.
If the unemployment rate was 7.8% when he took office, it's 7.8% now. But if you calculated that unemployment rate, taking back the people who dropped out of the workforce, it would be 10.7%. We have not made the progress we need to make to put people back to work. That's why I put out a 5-point plan that gets America 12 million new jobs in 4 years and rising take-home pay.
Candy, what Governor Romney said just isn't true. He wanted to take them into bankruptcy without providing them any way to stay open. And we would have lost 1 million jobs. And that, don't take my word for it, take the executives at GM and Chrysler, some of whom were Republicans, may even support Governor Romney. But they'll tell you his prescription wasn't going to work. And Governor Romney says he's got a 5-point plan.
Following the debate, News First Mahina Bongso spoke to political analysts at the Media Center at the Hofstra University to find out how the two presidential opponents performed in the town hall-style second debate.
I'm at the spin alley set up here at the Media Filing Center of the Hofstra University, which is just minutes away from where the presidential debate took place. Now, the spin alley is set up for journalists to ask questions from Democratic and Republican representatives regarding the presidential debate and how it all went down. We spoke to two political science professors of the Hofstra University to get an in-depth analysis of the second presidential debate.
I think they both did okay, although I would probably say that President Obama got the better of it, possibly because the expectations were so low after the first debate in Denver. President Obama came out tonight and he was more aggressive, he was more assertive, and on a number of questions he was more articulate than Governor Romney. I think Governor Romney really bungled a couple questions. I also think that the debate format was a bit stilted against Mitt Romney. I think many more of the questioners asked questions that were hostile to Mitt Romney than they were to Barack Obama. I also think that you're going to see that the moderator, Candy Crowley, is going to get all kinds of grief and criticism from conservatives for basically appearing to take President Obama's side in the debate.
I think the interesting question is, how did this debate influence those that are still undecided? I think the debate for both sides solidified the base, but the question is, what will be the impact on independent voters or the undecided voters? And I think, until tomorrow morning and the polls happen and we still have one more debate left, it's really unclear.
Meanwhile, former White House press secretary and senior campaign advisor to President Barack Obama, Robert Gibbs, had this to say about the second debate.
I think this was a narrative-changing debate. I think on virtually every answer, the president was in command. I think you can have these debates. I think you have to be respectful and courteous, but I think the American people expect that they're going to pick between two different visions, and they want to see a competition between those visions. Look, I think people probably learned a lot tonight about Governor Romney's views on, for instance, social issues and abortion, something that wasn't a topic in that first debate.
This isn't it for President Obama and Governor Mitt Romney. The two candidates will now face off in the third and final presidential debate to take place on Monday in Florida. News First will, of course, be at the forefront of giving you all the information and details of that debate as well. I'm Mahina Bongzo with cameraman Ramesh Urugal Bandara reporting from the Hofstra University in Hampstead, New York.
Where do US President Barack Obama and his challenger Mitt Romney stand at the moment? News First Shamir Rasuldeen, who has been closely following the US presidential race since September, joins us now for an overview.
After Mitt Romney's momentum-grabbing first U.S. presidential debate, the pressure was on U.S. President Barack Obama to perform in the second debate. The president delivered the second debate in an extremely tight U.S. presidential race and with little time for a breakout moment. Obama's intent was getting the porridge right in the 90-minute one-on-one face-off. Now, Joe Biden's performance at the last week vice presidential debate is viewed by many as overcompensated for Obama's lackluster performance and went way over the top of the volume level and aggressive interruptions. Now, key surveys indicate that Obama and Romney are knotted up in the battleground states of Virginia, Florida, Wisconsin, as well as Colorado. Many analysts believe that 9 swing states will determine who the next president of the United States will be on the 6th of November this year. Now, here in New York, in respect of the presidential debate that was held, many were in support of US President Barack Obama. However, as I have mentioned before in one of my updates, New York is not a swing state and will not determine the outcome of the US presidential elections, which will be held on the 6th of November. Now, News First, of course, will keep a close watch and will report to you as and when developments do unfold. I'm Shamir Rasuldeen reporting for News First from New York, USA.
Starting off your sports news this evening, Trinity College Kandy beat St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia 2-1 in their annual hockey encounter for the Warden Neville D'Alvis Memorial Shield today.
The match played at St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia was held for the 8th time this year. The Trinitians dominated the first half, scoring 2 goals and held the Thomians scoreless. The Thomians scored a consolation goal in the second half, while Trinity could not score. The final scores read 2-1 in favour of Trinity College Kandy.
Meanwhile, in relation to the assault on the Secretary to the Judicial Service Commission, the Law Students Association of Sri Lanka says that the government should prove its innocence over the assault on the Secretary to the Judicial Service Commission, Manjula Tilakaratna.
When we consider all the facts, we do have a fair suspicion as to whether the government was aware of it and whether it was done to fulfill its needs. What should the government do now? It should carry out an impartial investigation and arrest those responsible. They must be brought before the law. The culprits must be exposed to the country. So far, the government has failed to arrest a single person.
And that was a look at our primetime news today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Punshani Adrisinghe.
And I'm Shayan Silva. Good night.
Good night.